It happened quietly. Not in a courtroom. Not on a debate stage. Not under the lights where truth pretends to perform. No, it happened behind a door that never should have been opened. A single signature. A single man watching. A single shift that would ripple through the entire American story. Most people still have no idea. Picture this. A winter sky. Gray. Heavy. Silent as a held breath. Washington, D.C., the capital that never truly sleeps, looked almost peaceful that morning, like the city forgot about power for a second. The kind of day where the cold cuts clean, and you see every exhale like a secret you didn't want to share. Inside the White House, the lights buzzed with that artificial hum, the sound of deals being made in whispers. People came and went. Staffers with coffees. Advisors with folders to bury bad news. Security guards with eyes that never blinked. But deeper inside. Past the cameras. Past the places tourists believe hold the truth. There was a room that didn't look like anything special. Neutral walls. Plain table. No windows. And in that room sat a man, calm, composed, and completely invisible to the American public. His name was Mamdani. Not a senator. Not a billionaire. Not one of the smiling faces on cable news. He was the kind of man history uses like a razor, sharp, silent, and meant to leave a mark no one notices until the blood runs. A thinker. A strategist. A fixer. He had spent his entire life learning how systems breathe. So he could learn how to stop the heartbeat. Across from him, the former president leaned forward, elbows on the table, hands pressed together like a man who just prayed and wasn't sure if God heard him. Trump wasn't loud today. He wasn't performing. He wasn't the icon or the punchline the country argued over like a family in a broken house. He was a man holding the weight of a moment only two people understood. Mamdani, Trump said quietly. What happens, if we do this? Mamdani didn't answer immediately. He watched the former president, not as a symbol, not as a villain, but as a man who had stepped into the center of a storm and refused to leave. He finally spoke. People will say it's chaos. A breath. A pause. And they will be right. Trump stared at the table. The decision was already made, but he needed someone else to say it. Then why do it? He asked. Mamdani leaned back. Hands folded. Eyes like someone who already saw tomorrow. Because chaos, he said, is the first sign that the system is losing control. Outside, the world kept moving, unaware the ground beneath it just cracked. Pedestrians checked their phones. Cars honked at nothing. The country scrolled through headlines that meant nothing compared to this moment. A journalist somewhere typed another breaking story that would vanish by dinner. An analyst rehearsed a take they'd repeat like a sermon no one believed. Millions argued online to feel like their voices mattered. None of them knew a new chapter had already begun. Not with a bang. Not with a riot. Not with a law shouted on national television. But with silence. A signature. A single man named Mamdani nodding once, as if acknowledging destiny itself. The papers were placed on the table. Trump reached for the pen. His hand hovered, not shaking, but tense. This wasn't just policy. This wasn't about polls or popularity. This was power. Raw and unfiltered. Power that could change everything Americans think they understand. A knock on the door. An aide leaned in, cautious, as if sensing the temperature of history. Sir, they're waiting for you. Trump didn't look up. He signed. There was no thunderclap. No choir. No gasp from the universe. Just the sound of ink scratching across paper, like fate writing a new rule. Mamdani watched. Expression steady. Eyes unreadable. When the final curve of the final letter was complete, Trump set the pen down, exhaling a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "It's done," he said. Mamdani corrected him. "It's begun." Security escorted them into a hallway that seemed too narrow for what had just happened. Trump adjusted his tie, suddenly wearing the mask the world expected again. But Mamdani. He walked differently. Shoulders loose. Steps measured. Like a man who knew he had just altered the future and didn't need applause to feel tall. The door closed behind them. The new reality stayed. Across America, the day carried on. A factory worker in Ohio clocked in early. A mother in Texas reheated last night's leftovers. A teenager in California edited a video, hoping to go viral. A soldier in North Carolina laced up his boots for another deployment he didn't question. Millions living their lives. Unaware a rule had just changed around them. What Trump signed that day wasn't just paperwork. It was a decision that rewired the structure of power. Who gets to speak? Who gets to know? Who gets to decide what America means? And Mamdani, the man no one saw coming, was the architect of that shift. Not elected. Not praised. Not even acknowledged. History's favorite shadow. Later that night, Trump headed to his residence. Phones buzzing. Advisors shouting. Television screens glowing with the noise of a divided nation. But somewhere far from the capital, in a small apartment with no name on the buzzer, Mamdani sat alone. He turned off the lights. Opened a single window. Let the cold air sting his skin. His phone vibrated, a message with just 3 words. "It has started." Mamdani smiled. Not widely. Not proudly. Just a small curve of the lips, like a man seeing a seed finally break through soil. He whispered to the night. "They'll never see it coming." Outside, the wind howled. Inside, his silence howled back. The next morning, headlines talked about everything except the truth. A celebrity meltdown. A market hiccup. A political feud that had become America's favorite soap opera. But buried deep, in a place most people never click, a small note appeared. Minor administrative restructuring approved. That was it. History, disguised as paperwork. Every once in a while, a single moment bends the path of an entire nation. Most citizens never feel the bend until the road ahead looks strange. And they wonder when home disappeared behind them. Trump made the move. But Mamdani wrote the script. And now, the camera begins to roll. The story isn't about what happened yesterday. It's about what happens when a country wakes up to realize the rules have already changed. When control slips through fingers that thought they held power. When the invisible hand stops guiding, and starts pushing. America has no idea what's coming. Not yet. But soon. The night America quietly changed. Before he became the man in the room. Mamdani was just a kid staring at a world that didn't make sense. Not a prodigy. Not a chosen one. Just a boy who asked questions adults didn't want to answer. His father worked late nights. His mother kept the family stitched together with patience and prayer. They lived in a small apartment above a laundromat, where steam filled the hallways and the smell of detergent clung to every shirt like a reminder that nothing ever truly comes clean. People walked past their building without seeing it. Just another home that wasn't meant to matter. But inside, a revolution was forming. He learned early that power didn't shout. It whispered. It hid. It moved through the world like a shadow, touching everything without ever being touched back. At school, he noticed who walked confidently and who kept their eyes down. Who spoke loudest and who spoke last. He saw the invisible lines drawn between people. The ones who decided. And the ones who were told. Teachers praised him when he stayed quiet, when he didn't challenge the script they rehearsed every year. But the quiet ones are often the ones thinking hardest. And Mamdani was always thinking. One afternoon, after a class debate where he dismantled the lesson plan with a few questions too sharp for a 10th grader, his teacher pulled him aside. "You're smart," she said. "But be careful." He didn't understand then. He understood later. His father came home exhausted each night, hands cracked from work that paid too little to fix anything. He would sit at the kitchen table, staring at bills like they were riddles written in another language. Hard work pays off, the world claimed. But the truth was staring him right in the face. Hard work only pays those who own the clock. Mamdani watched the struggle. He counted the hours. He asked why a system built around opportunity always seemed to offer so little to those who needed it most. His father used to say, "Son, the world is not fair. You have to learn to live with that." Mamdani would nod. But in his heart, he whispered back, "No. I have to learn to change it." He wasn't angry. Anger is loud and burns out fast. He was focused. Like steel in a furnace, reshaping. Stronger with every blow. When he earned a scholarship to a school where the walls gleamed and futures were pre-written in trust funds, he saw power up close for the first time. Not as a dream. As a structure. A machine. Everyone there believed they owned the future. They spoke about stock markets and influence like children trading cards. They joked about the poor like it was a foreign species. He watched. He learned. He took notes on how the world really worked. Power isn't earned. It's inherited. And guarded. But every machine has a flaw. Every structure has a weak point. Mamdani's gift wasn't genius. It was perception. He could see cracks others ignored. There's a moment in every life when the path splits, when choices stop being harmless. His moment came late one night in the university library. The building was quiet. Books lined the walls like silent witnesses. He stumbled upon something he shouldn't have, not in a scandalous way, but in a revealing one. Documents. White papers. Blueprints of influence. Not conspiracy. Strategy. How governments shape narratives. How corporations shape governments. How citizens believe they are choosing, while every choice has already been predicted. Mamdani didn't panic. He didn't recoil. He simply understood. This, he thought, is the real classroom. And from that night on, he stopped chasing success, and started studying power. Not to join it. Not to admire it. To control it. Years passed. He became a consultant. Then an advisor. Then a man people called when the problem wasn't public yet, when a decision needed to be made in the dark. His brilliance wasn't loud. It was precise. He could dismantle a narrative with one line. He could predict public reaction like weather. He could build systems. Or break them. Quietly. And the powerful noticed. One by one, they came to him. Senators in trouble. CEOs facing collapse. Governments seeking stability. He never asked for credit. He didn't want his name on history. History is loud. History is emotional. History is messy. He preferred control. Because control is clean. Then came the night everything changed. A call. A meeting. A request from a man the entire world watched, some with hope, some with fury. Donald Trump didn't call because he trusted Mamdani. He called because he needed him. Trump had been many things in the public eye. A disruptor. A symbol. A controversy. A paradox. But now, He needed a strategist who understood the one rule every empire eventually forgets. When the system is against you, rewrite the system. Mamdani listened. He analyzed. He asked the question no one else dared. Do you want to win the argument? Or do you want to change the game? Trump sat back, eyes narrowing. What do you think? Mamdani replied without hesitation. The only way to regain control is to take away the referee. Silence hung thick, the kind that asks for courage. Trump nodded. And that nod became a pact. From that moment, Mamdani stopped advising power. He began architecting it. Blueprints of influence. Structures of silence. Rules written in legal ink but enforced in shadows. He wasn't just helping a man. He was reshaping a nation. Not with speeches. With systems. Not with revolutionaries in the street. With signatures behind closed doors. Every great change in history begins with a simple idea. What if the pillar holding everything up is also the easiest to remove? So when he sat in that windowless room across from Trump, it wasn't destiny. It was design. The moment had been built slowly, brick by brick, quiet as midnight snow. Now the door had opened. Now the papers were signed. Now the world was turning, and no one noticed the axis shifting. Most people never meet the architect of their future. They only feel the walls move. Mamdani looked at the machine of power and saw a weakness. Not in politics. Not in parties. But in the assumption that Americans would always know who was in control. He corrected that assumption. And when the first domino fell, he didn't celebrate. He simply prepared for the next move. Because this story was never about one man in the spotlight. It was about the man standing just outside the frame. Where silence becomes strategy. Where invisibility becomes influence. Where control becomes inevitable. The world had underestimated Mamdani his entire life. It was their greatest mistake. The question now wasn't what he did. The question was, who could stop him? At first, it looked harmless. Just another small adjustment in a country addicted to change. The headlines didn't scream. The pundits didn't panic. Because the most dangerous shifts never arrive wearing alarms. They arrive wearing paperwork. A memo circulated quietly through federal departments. A few titles were rearranged. A few oversight roles were modernized. A few voices that once reported problems were told to report somewhere else. And if you weren't paying attention, you'd never know what was taken away. Freedom rarely disappears in the daylight. It dissolves in the fine print. In a low-lit office in Virginia, a career analyst frowned at a notice that didn't match any law he remembered being debated. A tech specialist in Denver tried to log into a secure oversight portal, and found the access gone. A lawyer in D.C. called her supervisor, confusion sharpening her voice. When did we approve this? Who signed off? The supervisor hesitated. He knew the name on the signature line. He knew better than to ask questions. Just follow the new policy, he said. And don't put anything in writing. She stared at the receiver long after the call ended, hearing everything he didn't say. Meanwhile, America scrolled. A new scandal. A viral clip. A celebrity apology. A million distractions, served fresh, every hour. People argued over symptoms. While the disease evolved quietly in the marrow of the nation. Systems shift fastest when no one believes they're shifting at all. Inside the White House, aides whispered behind closed doors. Who is this Mamdani guy? How did he get this authority? Why aren't we being briefed? But every time someone pushed, they hit a wall made of silence. No title. No spotlight. No official role anyone could point to. Yet somehow, every decision flowed through him. He wasn't in the chain of command. He was the chain. One night, a senior official confronted him directly. Overnight folder in hand. Face tight with suspicion. "This isn't how we do things in this country," he snapped. Mamdani looked up from the document he was reviewing. Calm. Unthreatened. He answered with a question. "Is the way we do things still working?" The official hesitated, just for a second. And Mamdani saw it. The doubt. The exhaustion. The buried belief that maybe, just maybe, the old system wasn't worth saving. Mamdani pressed. "You think you're protecting democracy. But all you're protecting is a system that forgot the people it claims to serve." The official stepped back. Not convinced, but shaken. Because the most effective influence doesn't force belief. It offers relief. Trump, meanwhile, began to feel something he hadn't felt in years. Control. Not the performative kind, where crowds cheer and cameras flash. Real control. The kind exercised by people no one votes for. There comes a moment when the curtain slips. Not enough to expose everything. Just enough to reveal a hand pulling a string you thought moved on its own. That moment arrived. Late on a Thursday night. Inside a quiet conference room. A group of mid-level officials reviewed a new directive. Centralize decision-making. Reclassify public oversight. Restrict data distribution to approved channels. On the surface, it sounded like efficiency. But one woman, sharp eyes, steady spine, noticed three missing words that used to appear in every version of this policy. For public transparency purposes. She felt a chill. Not fear. Recognition. This wasn't simplification. It was consolidation. Power. Flowing upward. Away from the people who needed protection. And toward the people who needed control. Meanwhile, across the country, a university researcher ran a simulation to model public access to information. He adjusted the new parameters. Watched the results populate. Then he froze. Where there used to be thousands of independent oversight nodes, spread like stars across the map, there were now only a handful. All roads flowed through one server cluster. One clearance authority. One decision point. He zoomed in. The system redrew itself. Lines narrowing into a single dark square. He checked the administrator. His breath caught. Authorization holder. Mamdani. "What the hell?" he whispered. The reveal didn't come as a leak. Or a scandal. It arrived as a pattern. Because systems leave fingerprints. And Mamdani's fingerprints were everywhere. Here was the truth. What Trump had signed was not a policy change. It was a rewiring of power. Oversight boards weren't eliminated. They were absorbed. Watchdogs weren't fired. They were blinded. Transparency wasn't attacked. It was relocated into a vault. With Mamdani holding the only key. It wasn't a takeover you could protest. It was architecture. Invisible. Efficient. Final. Inside the Oval Office, Trump leaned back in his chair. Hands folded behind his head. "Feels good," he said. "Everything's smoother." Mamdani nodded slightly. Problems begin when too many people believe their voice is essential. Trump chuckled. But Mamdani wasn't joking. He stepped closer to the window. Watching tourists outside the gates. Take selfies with a house they believed represented them. A country, he said, can survive a million shouts of disagreement. What it cannot survive is confusion. Trump frowned. You think people will notice? Mamdani's eyes didn't leave the glass. No. Because we didn't silence them. We simplified their choices. Cable news noticed something strange. There were fewer leaks. Fewer internal disputes. Fewer stories that felt unpredictable. Outrage became organized. Debate became confined. The chaos America was addicted to became curated. Networks argued over issues already deemed safe to argue about. Talking points arrived. Prepackaged. Like meals in neat containers. No mess. No surprises. The illusion of freedom is most convincing when the cage is wide enough to walk around. And Mamdani? He watched from the shadows as a nation accepted a new paradigm without ever seeing the blueprint. He didn't crave applause. Applause is noise. He craved order. Order is control. The journalist who had lost her files found a single anomaly on her wiped hard drive. One folder with one file that somehow survived the purge. It contained a phrase. The system didn't fail. It was built this way. No attribution. No metadata. She stared at it like a warning written in her own handwriting. The system, she whispered, didn't fail. She realized the truth. Corruption isn't the exception. It's the infrastructure. In a meeting room lined with flags and forged optimism, a senator slammed his hand on the table. We are losing visibility, he snarled. We don't even know what authority he has. An advisor swallowed hard. That's the issue, sir. There is no defined authority. He exists. Between the lines. Mamdani had become the unaccountable constant. Not elected. Not appointed. Implemented. The reveal wasn't a single moment. It was a dawning. A gradual awareness that something fundamental had shifted in the relationship between power and the people it governs. What Americans once trusted as oversight had become a filter. What they thought was transparency was now permission. Information flowed one direction. Up. Accountability flowed nowhere. And while fear can be loud, realization is quiet. It begins like a whisper. Something's wrong. Then a suspicion. The world feels smaller. Then a truth. This isn't democracy anymore. This is management. In the middle of the night, Mamdani stood alone on a rooftop. City lights flickering beneath him. Like a circuit board alive with human doubt. He listened to the distant hum of a country adjusting to its new software. He closed his eyes and breathed in the calm before the storm. This is only phase one, he said. To no one. And to everyone. The wind carried the words away. Like a secret delivered into the dark. Because what came next would not be quiet. What came next would not be subtle. Control had been claimed. Now it would be tested. Washington, D.C. There's a kind of silence in power that doesn't come from peace. It comes from fear of the next move. Tonight, that silence hangs over the West Wing like a storm that forgot how to rain. Inside the Oval Office, Trump stands alone, not in weakness, but in calculation. No cameras. No advisors. Just the sound of his own breathing, and the echo of one name. Mamdani. A man he doesn't fully understand. A man he can't fully control. A man he can't afford to lose. Trump hates that feeling. He built his empire on the belief that every person has a price. Every loyalty has a limit. Every threat can be neutralized. But Mamdani? He's different. He's not here for money. Not here for fame. He is here for the system, and only he knows what happens when the system breaks. Trump exhales, sharp and impatient. He doesn't like partners. He doesn't trust followers. And he certainly doesn't kneel before advisors who think they're smarter than him. But Mamdani isn't an advisor. He's a strategist. And Trump knows something unsettling. Strategists don't obey presidents. They build them. Then replace them when necessary. Elsewhere in the building, deep beneath the polished floors, tourists walk on. A secure room is lit only by a projector and a single lamp. Mamdani stands at the front of a long table. Around him, security officials, economic chiefs, national intelligence. Every one of them has the same tightness in their jaw. They didn't invite Mamdani here. He invited himself. On the screen behind him, a map of America, glowing in 3 colors. Red, the counties that will remain loyal to Trump no matter what. Blue, the counties lost before the game even starts. Gray, the future. The battlefield. The hinge of history. We don't win with the loyal, Mamdani says. His voice is quiet, but it cuts through the room like steel. We win with the forgotten. He taps the pointer to a cluster of gray. You continue trying to persuade America from the top down. He turns. That's why you lose. A murmur of anger ripples across the table, silent, but sharp. Mamdani doesn't care. He moves on. He clicks to the next slide. Faces. Thousands of them. Factory workers. Farmers. Veterans. Small business owners. People who were told they were getting a better life, but ended up with a cheaper one. This isn't a demographic, he says. This is a hostage situation. And the hostage taker is time. He pauses. Lets it sink in. Every eye stays locked on him. The system promised these people that progress would be their inheritance. A beat. It lied. One of the officials scoffs, a gray-haired man in a suit older than most policies. So your plan is what? He interrupts. More anger. More chaos. More disruption. Mamdani turns toward him. No, he replies calmly. My plan is justice. But justice looks like chaos when you're the one who lied. The man looks away. Everyone else understands. This is not a philosophy lecture. This is a war briefing. He clicks again. The map reshapes into numbers. Numbers become probabilities. Probabilities become inevitabilities. This country isn't slipping, he says. It's sliding. Fast. Mamdani steps closer. His voice lowers, but the weight of it doubles. And I know exactly where the bottom is. The room feels colder. He points to a single line of text on the screen. National identity crisis, T-42 months. If the country reaches that collapse point, no election will matter. No party will matter. No constitution will matter. Just power. Raw and unfiltered. He looks around the room. But collapse can be postponed. Controlled. Directed. A slow, calculated breath. And if Trump wants to remain president, he must become the symbol of that control. He closes the file. No more reacting. We initiate reality now. When the meeting ends, Everyone leaves looking like they aged 10 years in an hour. Mamdani stays behind. He watches the screen fade to black. A black that feels like the future. Then a voice from the doorway. "You're playing God." Not an insult. A warning. Mamdani doesn't turn around. "If I step away," he replies softly, "someone far worse will take the job." He finally turns. We see something new in his eyes. Not hunger. Not ambition. Certainty. He knows where this is going. He knows how it ends. But power like his is never free. It always takes something. A piece of the soul, a piece of the truth. Or a piece of the nation. He walks out of the room. And the darkness stays. Every system that survives long enough learns one truth. Progress demands suffering. Power demands sacrifice. Tonight, both are coming due. A cold rain lashes the glass windows of the residence as Trump sits in a private dining room, red tie loosened, jaw tight, eyes hard. He's eating dinner with his family, but his mind isn't in the room. Ivanka sees it. Melania senses it. Barron ignores it. They've learned that Trump's silence is louder than his voice. He keeps replaying a single sentence, the one Mamdani spoke before leaving their last meeting. Leadership isn't about what you gain. It's about who you're willing to lose. Trump hates every part of that line. Not because it's wrong. But because it's true. He has built his life on loyalty, demanded it, purchased it, weaponized it. But loyalty isn't something Mamdani collects. He collects leverage. Trump knows that if he wants to hold the reins of history, something, or someone, must be left behind. 3 blocks away, on the top floor of a hotel overlooking the Capitol, Mamdani stands at a window, staring into the black sky. His phone is on the table. It vibrates once. A coded message. He already knows what it means. A name. A choice. A beginning of the cost. Mamdani doesn't hesitate. He picks up the phone. "It's time," he says quietly. 2 words. And somewhere in America, a destiny shifts. The sacrifice begins with a man named William Rockford. A kingmaker. A strategist from an older era. A Republican architect who once believed he controlled the future. Rockford has opposed Mamdani from the first day he arrived in Washington. Not for what he believes. But because Mamdani doesn't believe the future belongs to men like Rockford anymore. Tonight, Rockford's car is stopped by 2 black SUVs. Unmarked. Untraceable. The Secret Service agents escort him out, politely, but without permission. They take his phone. His documents. His voice. One of the agents speaks. "You've been temporarily removed from strategic operations." Temporarily. That word is a threat disguised as courtesy. Rockford tries to protest, but everyone in the room already knows the truth. He's been sacrificed. Not by his enemies. But by his own side. Back in the White House, a single line of information reaches Trump's desk. Rockford out. Initiated by M. Trump doesn't show emotion. But something deep inside him tightens. Mamdani just proved a terrifying point. He can take down pillars of power. Without leaving fingerprints. Trump's mind races. If he can remove Rockford, he can remove me. A new realization settles like ice in his bloodstream. He isn't the only apex predator in the room anymore. Later that night, Mamdani returns to his private office in a government building no journalist has ever seen. He sets a folder on the desk. Inside. Rockford's career. Rockford's secrets. Rockford's end. He doesn't smile. He doesn't revel in it. For him, this isn't victory. This is accounting. A cost paid. A variable eliminated. A move made. But then, for the first time, hesitation. A picture sits in the folder. Rockford with his daughter. A child with braces, holding a baseball glove. Mamdani stares at it. His jaw tightens. This is the part no one sees. The human life beneath political math. He closes the folder slowly. The strategist whispers something under his breath, so quiet it's almost a confession. Forgive me. Then he locks it away. The sacrifice is complete. Meanwhile, Trump stands in his private bathroom, staring into the mirror. He looks older than yesterday. He places both hands on the marble sink, steadying himself. For the first time in years, doubt appears in his eyes. Not doubt in winning. Doubt in surviving the win. He whispers to his reflection. What have I unleashed? The rain continues. The storm has arrived. But the thunder hasn't started yet. Somewhere below, in the machine rooms of government power, gears turn silently as Mamdani's influence spreads, invisible, undeniable. America doesn't know it yet. But the sacrifice tonight was just the first of many. Because every empire demands a price. And this time, the currency is people. History doesn't shift quietly forever. Eventually, tension demands a stage. A crowd. A moment that forces truth into the light. Tonight is that moment. Air horns. Camera flashes. Flags whipping in the wind. Trump steps onto a rally stage in Michigan, thousands of supporters roaring his name like a national heartbeat. The music pounds like thunder. His ego feeds on the electricity. But beneath his confident smile, a fracture is forming. Because this isn't just a rally. It's a test. Mamdani is watching, not from the shadows. But from the VIP platform to Trump's right. Not a staffer. Not a donor. Something else. The audience doesn't know his name. The cameras don't catch his identity. But every strategist in Washington feels his presence like static in the air. Whoever that man is, Trump brought him into the spotlight. That means power. Or submission. Or both. Trump grips the microphone, eyes burning with that familiar defiance. They tried to take America from you. But we're taking it back. The crowd roars. Mamdani stands still. Watching. Not the crowd. Not the opponents. Trump. Analyzing his rhythm. His flaws. His hunger. Trump continues, louder now. And nobody tells me who to trust. He glances toward Mamdani as he says it. It's not a line. It's a warning. Mamdani's expression never changes. And then the crowd begins to chant. Not USA. Not Trump. But something new. Bring him in. Bring him in. At first Trump doesn't understand. Then he realizes. They're pointing. At Mamdani. The crowd, unknowingly, is demanding the architect step into the frame. A man no one knows, yet everyone can already feel. Trump hesitates. To bring Mamdani closer is to share the throne. To refuse is to reveal fear. Both choices weaken him. That's the collision. Not fists. Not policies. But power recognizing itself. Trump steps aside from the mic. Gestures, reluctantly, toward Mamdani. Come on up, he says through gritted teeth. The crowd erupts. The cameras zoom. History zooms. Mamdani walks forward, calm, composed, every step a revelation. The kind of presence you don't notice. Until he's standing right in front of you. He doesn't wave. He doesn't smile. He just takes the podium. The whole arena falls into a hush. Like they're waiting for the future to speak. Mamdani's voice cuts clean through the silence. America has always been a negotiation. Between what we fear, and what we dare to become. Not applause. Not screams. Something deeper. Recognition. Because even those who don't understand him feel him. Trump watches from behind, jaw clenching, a storm rising beneath his suit. Mamdani continues. And power should never belong to the loudest voice, but the bravest. Trump hears the subtext. This isn't your show anymore. The arena is breathing with him now. Sinking to his rhythm. Believing. Trump can't tolerate it. He puts a hand on Mamdani's shoulder and steps forcefully back to the mic. Thank you, okay, that's enough for now. It's awkward. It's desperate. It's the kind of moment that tells every predator exactly where the weakness is. Mamdani steps back. Not defeated. Measured. He has seen everything he needed to see. Trump is terrified of sharing the stage. That means the collision has already begun. After the rally, they move into a backstage hallway, dark, quiet, humid with backstage tension. Trump turns. What the hell was that? Mamdani does not flinch. You brought me here, he says. I didn't ask for the microphone. Trump snaps. No one gets cheers like that but me. Mamdani lowers his voice, almost a whisper. If your power depends on not letting anyone else speak, then you don't have power. You have fear. Trump's face reddens. He steps closer, finger pointed like a loaded weapon. You think you can step into my light? You work for me. Mamdani tilts his head, calm, surgical. No. I work for the future. Trump freezes. Because deep down, under the confidence, under the armor. That's the one enemy he can't control. They stare at each other. Two forces carved by different worlds. Trump, chaos fueled by ego. Mamdani, precision fueled by purpose. Both necessary. Both fatal to the other. Mamdani turns to leave, but stops at the curtain. Without looking back. There comes a moment when history stops asking who you are. And starts asking who you serve. Silence. Then footsteps fade into the darkness of the arena. Trump stands alone, more alone than he's ever been. Because tonight he learned the most dangerous truth of all. A new leader has entered the story. And he doesn't need a spotlight. Every alliance has an expiration date. Tonight, this one reaches its final hour. The Oval Office lights are dim. Only the desk lamp burns, a lonely spotlight on the weight of power. Trump leans over his phone, watching a live broadcast. A Senate committee hearing. Routine. Boring. Insignificant. Except. There he is. Mamdani. Not behind the scenes anymore. Not whispering into back channels. Testifying. Publicly. Powerfully. He speaks about America's future, technology, national strength, sovereignty, the global chessboard no one admits exists. His voice carries the calm certainty of a man who sees the next 50 years as clearly as tomorrow morning. Senators nod. Journalists scribble. Markets respond in real time. And Trump feels something he hasn't felt in decades. Irrelevance. A knock at the door. His chief of staff enters, hesitant. Mr. President, they're calling him the architect now. Trump doesn't reply. The chief continues. Donors, congressmen, even foreign leaders. They're going to him first. Before you. Trump's face stiffens. Before you. Two words that strike like a blade. He turns off the TV, but the damage is already done. Meanwhile, in a private briefing room beneath the Capitol, Mamdani meets quietly with 3 senators, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat. Lines that once divided them now feel meaningless. A new axis of power is forming. Is he aware? The Democrat asks, voice low. Mamdani shakes his head. He still believes he's in control. That belief will protect us, until it doesn't. What if he finds out? The Republican whispers. Mamdani folds his hands. Then we'll have to choose our moment first. It isn't treason. Not yet. But treason always begins as a whisper. Up in the residence, Trump makes a call. No greeting. No pleasantries. Get me Rockford, he demands. A pause. Sir. Rockford is unavailable. Unavailable? Trump slams the phone down. There it is, the crack widening. Mamdani removed Rockford. Now Trump wants him back. Too late. The game has moved on. Night falls. Mamdani enters a secure room, vault-thick walls, screens flickering with intelligence feeds. A small team awaits him, analysts and strategists who now take their orders from him more than from their president. One of them speaks. It's official. The new domestic security directive is ready. We just need his signature. Mamdani doesn't respond. His silence isn't hesitation. It's calculation. He knows what the directive does. Gives him surveillance power beyond anything a president has ever held. And the moment Trump signs it, the throne becomes ceremonial. But just as Mamdani prepares to move, something shifts. A folder slides across the table. Stamped, classified, access revoked. Mamdani frowns. He opens it. Inside. His own plans. His connections. His influence map. Every lever of power he has built, exposed, documented, weaponized against him. A note is clipped to the top, handwritten. You think I don't see you? Just 8 words. But the signature below them freezes the entire room. D.J.T. Trump has discovered the betrayal. And he is striking first. In the White House, Trump sits back in his chair, breathing hard but smiling. Not the showman's grin. The predator's. The man who built an empire out of defiance is reclaiming his blood sport. He whispers. No one replaces me. For the first time in months, he feels alive. Because Trump has remembered a truth Mamdani underestimated. A wounded king still has claws. Mamdani closes the folder slowly. His team waits, anxious. Do we pull back? Someone asks. Mamdani shakes his head. No. We go forward. But he knows. Yes, Mamdani replies. And that makes things inevitable. He stands. Straightens his jacket. His eyes shift, from strategist to warrior. It is no longer a silent takeover. It is war. Trump turns off the light in the Oval. Mamdani turns on the war room screens. 2 men. 1 nation. And a betrayal that can no longer be concealed. Because truth is simple. There's only room for one future. Echo line. And now, the fight begins. The night sky is black. Not a single star dares to shine. In Washington, the city hums, lights flicker, sirens wail in the distance, drones trace invisible lines above government buildings. The storm has arrived, though no clouds are visible. It begins quietly. Trump paces the Oval Office. His reflection in the windows stares back at him, sharp, furious, alive. He has weaponized outrage. He has weaponized attention. But now, he realizes Mamdani has weaponized reality. He bangs a fist on the desk. They think they can take this from me, he growls. But they haven't met me at my worst. He calls the press, not to tell the truth, but to reclaim it. To scramble the narrative. To remind everyone who still matters in the game of visibility. Mamdani watches from elsewhere, unseen. He predicted this. He prepared for it. Every move Trump makes is already a variable in the system Mamdani built. And yet, for a fraction of a second, Mamdani wonders. Will Trump break the machine or break himself first? Back on the streets, America reacts. Phones light up. Voices shout. Opinions collide. A nation addicted to drama can't look away. The algorithms feed it. The networks amplify it. The people feel the tension, electric and unavoidable. Mamdani smiles faintly. The chaos he orchestrates doesn't frighten him. It excites him. Because human emotion is predictable. But only when measured. And tonight, every heartbeat is accounted for. Inside the war room, screens display a live map of influence. Red zones, Trump's loyalists. Blue zones, the skeptics. Gray zones, the undecided. Lines trace the flow of money, media, and sentiment. Arrows curve like blood vessels across the nation. Every movement, from protests to viral tweets, is visible in real time. Mamdani leans back. The system isn't failing, he whispers to himself. It's awakening. Meanwhile, Trump storms a national security briefing. His aides flinch. Generals shift uneasily in their seats. This isn't just politics, he snaps. This is survival. And survival is about control. Mamdani steps out of the shadows, finally present in the same room. No one had seen him enter. Yet there he is. Trump freezes. Recognition hits. Why are you here? He demands. Not fear. Not curiosity. A challenge. Mamdani's answer is calm. Precise. I am here to finish what we started. The room feels smaller. Every breath weighs heavier. The two men, architect and performer, now collide not in rhetoric, but in reality. Then it begins. A chain reaction. Leaks. Exposés. Tweets fired like artillery. Loyalists demand answers. Opponents smell blood. The world watches as America teeters on a knife's edge. The system flexes. The machine responds. Every protocol, every contingency, every prediction Mamdani built, now tests itself against Trump's unpredictability. Chaos meets control. Fire meets ice. History meets strategy. In the middle of the storm, Mamdani speaks to the nation, not through the press, not on camera. But through influence rippling quietly in forums, networks, and whispers. Freedom cannot be bought. Truth cannot be legislated. Power is a reflection of those brave enough to wield it wisely. It is not a speech. It is a reality check. And it lands where it must. In the minds of those who will inherit the aftermath. Trump roars back with rallies, tweets, speeches, all visible, all amplified. He cannot see the full board. Mamdani can. And yet, the collision excites both. The storm tests every limit. At the peak, both men pause. One in the spotlight. One in the shadows. For a single heartbeat, silence falls. And in that silence, the truth emerges. Power is not a gift. It is a responsibility. And responsibility is the heaviest burden a human can carry. As dawn breaks over the Capitol, the storm fades. The chaos settles. America exhales, tired but alive. Trump stands, defiant, furious, still fighting. Mamdani stands, calm, satisfied, invisible to most, inevitable to all. Neither has won. Neither has lost. They have only changed the game. The final whisper echoes. You can't buy freedom. You can't legislate fairness. You can only choose who you'll be when everything falls apart. And then, silence spoke louder. Somewhere in the distance, the city breathes again. Neon lights hum. People continue. Life persists. But the world has quietly shifted. And those who watch closely know. This is only the beginning.